like to call to order the City Council caucus meeting for Monday, April 10th, 2023. We have two public hearings this evening. If the clerk would please read public hearing number 1.
Public hearing number 1, the 2023-2024 proposed HUD Annual Action Plan.
Public hearing number 2.
Public hearing number 2, amending the Schenectady City Code to add provisions related to the use of school bus stop arm cameras.
We have 9 items for original consideration. If the clerk would please read item number 1.
Item number 1, under final consideration, an ordinance to amend section 186-16 of the Code of the City of Schenectady.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. Item number 2.
Item number 2 for original consideration, a resolution calling for a public hearing on the abandonment of a portion of Amelia Street.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. Item number 3.
Item number 3 for original consideration, a resolution calling for a public hearing on the abandonment of a portion of Larch Street.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. Item number 4.
Item number 4 for original consideration, a resolution calling for a public hearing amending sections 248-18 of the Schenectady City Code to designate Fuller Street from South Church Street to South Ferry Street a one-way street.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. Item number 5.
Item number 5 for original consideration, a resolution requesting state legislation requiring compliance with the city code related to rental residential property registration for eviction proceedings.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. Item number 6.
Item number 6 for original consideration, a resolution confirming the reappointments of Father Dominic Isopo, Lawrence Dalkey, and Lawrence DeAngelis, and confirming the appointment of Michael Dalton to the City of Schenectady Board of Ethics.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 7.
Item number 7 for original consideration, a resolution approving the increase of the Schenectady Municipal Golf Course rates for the golf cart use.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 8.
Item number 8 for original consideration, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into supplemental agreement number 3 with New York State Department of Transportation for the implementation and funding in the first instant 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds for replacement of Kings Road Bridge over CSX, New York State DOT PIN number 1758.95.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 9.
Item number 9, under contract and supply, a resolution awarding the bid and contract for crack sealing of City Street 2023 to Seal Coat USA Incorporated in the amount of $157,380.
Discussed in committee without objection and on consent. If there's nothing more to come before the City Council caucus, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. Patrick, second by Mr. Mudvera. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order for Monday, April 10th, 2023. And I'd like to call on Pastor Jean Nicole Simone for the prayer invocation.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this day and for allowing us to come together for the business of the city. Lord, as we are coming out of this high holy season in many faith traditions, Lord, help us to hold on to our faith, our compassion, our hope, our integrity, our morals, the things that we were taught as kids growing up. Lord, help us to hold on to our heart of service. Lord, as the council members and others are serving the community, serving this city, Lord, may we be guided by you. May we be guided by our compassion and our love for our fellow brothers and sisters. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I'd ask Councilmember Williams to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If the clerk would please complete the roll call.
Mr. Mutavaran?
Present.
Mr. Toro is absent. Mr. Farley is absent. Mr. Williams?
Present.
Ms. Patrick? Here. Mr. Palomini?
Here.
Ms. Porterfield?
Here.
Thank you.
We have one out of order resolution. Resolution recognizing St. Adalbert's 120th anniversary, and I'd like Councilmember Palomini to please present this resolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll move over, you guys. May I have the floor?
You have the floor.
This is a resolution recognizing St. Adalbert's 120th anniversary. Whereas the Church of St. Adalbert, Schenectady, New York, is proudly celebrating its 120th anniversary on Sunday, April 23, 2023. And whereas in 1902, 70 Polish immigrant families who had been drawn by the promise of political liberty, economic prosperity, and religious freedom to the United States determined that they needed a place to worship God in the Roman Catholic tradition, educate their children to be contributing members of the American society, and maintain their cherished Polish culture. And whereas 2 committees were formed, one was to select the site for the church, while the other was to seek approval to establish the parish. On December 1st, the first committee placed the deposit on 7 lots between Crane and Lansing Streets. When spring weather allowed it, they began clearing trees and preparing the site for 3 wooden buildings, a church, a school, and the rectory. And whereas, in the meantime, the second committee approached Bishop Burke, who gave his approval and suggested that the parish be named for St. Adalbert. And whereas, on March 30th, 1903, the first Mass was celebrated in the parish on the newly completed foundation of a parishioner's house. On June 4th, 1903, the certificate of incorporation of the Church of St. Adalbert was signed. Whereas on July 4th, 1903, the foundation of the wooden church was completed and a temporary floor installed. By autumn, the church, school, and rectory were completed. And whereas on October 9th, 1909, the wooden church was destroyed by fire. Arrangements for a new brick church building were being planned, and the cornerstone was laid in the spring of 1910. And whereas on April 7th, 1911, the completed brick structure was dedicated. It's long. And whereas created on a hill stands the Church of St. Adalbert, its magnificent steeple spiraling heavenward, a reminder of the shrine of Our Lady of Częstochowa. I practiced. The spiritual and cultural focal point of Poland. Thus located, it offered a panoramic view of the city of Schenectady. And whereas St. Adalbert's is today under the spiritual guidance of Father Matthew H. Frazzoni, and whereas St. Adalbert stands prepared to meet the challenges of the coming decades while retaining the spiritual resolve which characterizes its past. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Schenectady City Council and the Mayor Gary R. McCarthy do hereby pause in their deliberations to call on all Schenectadians to celebrate the 120th anniversary of St. Adalbert's and learn more about the church's enormous contributions to the city of Schenectady. I'd like
This
to
was previously passed, so we don't need to do that again. No worries. Congratulations.
And would you like to introduce your colleagues?
Okay, first, John, I want to thank you because he was my contact person. Thank you so much. I do want to thank the city of Schenectady and everybody for being here. Mayor McCarthy, thank you, Gary. The president of the city council, Ms. Porterfield, thank you, Marion. And all the city council people over here. I think I know most of you, not everybody here. I do want to thank all our parishioners. We have more, but they wanted like 200 or 300 people wanted to come here. I said, no, we're not going to do that. That's way too much, Father Frazzoni couldn't make it. He had other things going on. He's got a lot of things on his plate anyway. Our church, hard to believe, I've been going to church there for 70 years, I haven't been going there for 120, just 70 years, but unbelievable. Our church, I always want to say, I think it's one of the best looking structurally in the city of Schenectady. And I also think it's one of the best looking churches in the Capital District, but that's my own personal point of view, for sure. No, it's a beautiful church. If you ever get a chance, if you've never been in St. Adalbert's, you should come over there. Come over for the Mass, and if you can't make it to the Mass, you should just come over and look to see what you are missing. And we always have great greeters here and things like that. Everybody's always smiling. Look at that, it's always like that. Okay, listen, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you so much. And your father, for so many of you here, he would say, God bless you and God bless America. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, in Polish, you would be saying, dziękuję bardzo. Yeah. Yeah, you did. You going to take a picture? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a good evening. We have two public hearings this evening, and I just want to remind you that we've extended the public comment for the public hearing to 4 minutes, and I also respectfully ask that you only make your comments relevant to the public hearing. Public hearing number 1, the 2023-24 proposed HUD Annual Action Plan. And I see that I have no one signed up to speak, so I declare the public hearing closed. Is there anyone here that has signed up to speak to the public hearing regarding the Schenectady City Code to add provisions relating to the use of the school bus code camera? Okay, so that's public hearing number 2. So I have no one signed up to speak, so I declare that public hearing closed. I'll ask for approval of the minutes from March 27th, 2023. Moved by Mr. Mudavaren, second by Ms. Patrick. All those in favor? Aye. Ask for the clerk to please read any communications and petitions.
Communications presented to City Council for Monday, April 10th, 2023. Under official, there were none. Under general, from members of American Legion Post 21, a thank you note for the much-needed donation. Under petitions, there were none.
Call on City Council members to provide any committee reports. This time we'll have privilege of the floor related to the legislative agenda. I have no one signed up to speak. So for the legislative agenda, for things that are on the agenda, you signed up on city business, sir. We have no one on that sheet. So if there's something on the agenda that someone would like to speak to, this is the opportunity. Is it on the legislative agenda? Yes. Yes, then you can come at this time. Thank you. You're welcome.
I apologize for signing up on the wrong sheet.
Okay.
Okay. Just trying to make room for this. Okay, and again, I have 4 minutes, is that?
You have 3.
3, okay. Okay, good evening. I'm Reverend Nicole John Simone, President of the Schenectady NAACP, and as President of the local branch of the NAACP, I often hear the concerns of the people of this community. both black and white, young and old. These concerns don't always come in the form of written complaints. Sometimes people stop me in the grocery store, stop by my church, call me on the phone to voice their concerns, and they trust me to bring those concerns to you. So I want to bring to your attention this evening something that I have now received several complaints about. The community is greatly concerned with the way that the Board of Ethics is being used by members of this council. In 1971, the Schenectady City Council recognized the fundamental principle that officers and employees of the city hold their positions to serve and benefit the public and not for obtaining unwarranted personal and private gain in the exercise and performance of their official powers and duties. With that principle in mind, clear and reasonable standards of ethical conduct were established with the City Board of Ethics being charged with the obligation to review issues and render opinions relative to the administration of these standards. This is the overview as stated on the city's website. The board was formed for this reason in 1971. It was not formed to be used as a weapon against your colleagues. And that is what people are seeing right now. That is the complaint that they're bringing forward. And that concern is further affirmed when you go to the city's website, and the only other complaint to be found is one made against another African-American council member 10 years ago. So, is it correct that although the Ethics Board has been in existence for 52 years, the only time it's been used to make complaints was against 2 African-American city council members, of which there have only been 4? Maybe I'm missing something. Perhaps older complaints have been removed from the website, but the truth remains that the last time the board was used was to bring a complaint against an African-American council member. No wonder why people are stopping me in the stores, calling me on my phone. I'm taking their concerns seriously, and I hope you will do the same. I hope you will take a close look at how this board is used, who serves on this board, the diversity of this board, the mission of this board, and view the original intent of this board. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you. Now, I have no one else signed up to speak on the legislative agenda, so I declare the public comment closed. I'll ask for approval. Ask for approval of the legislative agenda. Moved by Mr. Moudavare and second by Mr. Williams. All those in favor? Aye. This time, oops, one second. Where's my last sheet? Okay. Ask for privilege of the floor regarding general city business. I have 8 people that are signed up, and the first person is Bailey Gardner. And I just want to remind you, it is 3 minutes for this part of it, okay?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. I am Bailey Gardner. I am from Schenectady County Connects, which many of you may know as Schenectady Job Training Agency. So we operate the Summer Youth Employment Program, and last year, believe it or not, for the 2022 program, we received 479 applications of youth who are eager to work throughout the county. And from that 479 applications, we had the ability to fund 190 positions. And that was until just before the program when the city and the school district came together, and we just need to thank you for your support of an additional 75 youth last year. It was tremendous that we were able to then take on those 75 youth, individually interview them, place them at work sites throughout the county, and they got their 6 weeks of work experience through the county and city partnership with the school district support. The administration in the school district has been tremendously supportive of our programming. We now have an internship partnership that is also a part of the city partnership, and we thank you for that as well. We have some of our youth here tonight to speak to you about their experiences and just to share with you how impactful this has been, not only for the summer experience where some of these youth get their first jobs, some have the job coaching that they need to be successful and learn the foundational skills that they may not have learned had they just started a job, showed up late, and then got fired. So we're there to be that intermediary where we really support the youth and teach them those skills and really help them to learn the foundational skills that will help them on a career pathway towards self-sustainability, which I know is a city, school district, and county priority for all of our citizens here. So I just wanted to thank you again for your support. We would love to have a conversation about how we may be able to further this partnership for the 2023 Summer Youth Employment Program. And some of our youth are also signed up for privilege of the floor. So thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Ronaldo Guerrero.
Hello, my name is Ray, and I would like to start with thanking you for giving me a chance to actually start my first job, and I would also like to thank my job coach for teaching me a lot of skills that I will need later on in my career. I work at the Mount Pleasant Boys and Girls Club in
Thank you for coming. Mariah Jacobs. It says Jacobs here.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Mariah, and I'm interning as a media specialist for Schenectady County School District. My overall experience so far in this internship has been very pleasant, and I am very happy I got this opportunity. I really enjoy working with the student voice and documenting other people's experiences, likes, dislikes, and changes they would like to see happen in Schenectady. I would recommend this internship to others. I actually have. There's great connections, opportunities, and experiences with the youth program, and I would like to thank my job coach and my supervisor, Dr. Cotto, even though he's not here, but I still like to thank him. And I'd like to thank you guys for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Hernandez.
Hello, my name is Brian Hernandez, and I would like to start off by saying thank you for your contribution to this program, and I'd also like to thank my job coach. I speak on the behalf of me and many other kids that we are truly grateful for this opportunity. But more on me, I work at Ring of Hope Boxing Club, which some of you may have heard of. It's on Erie Boulevard. It's an amazing boxing program where we teach kids from all ages, even adults. You just stop by. But I don't really have like a certain position. I work as a coach sometimes. Sometimes I could be the janitor, could help out. But my experience in the program has been great. I've been going to this gym for 2 years, and I've only been working for the gym for like about 2 months. But I built an attachment before I started working, so it's been great. My coach is my boss, so sometimes he could order me to do something in like a coach way. But it's been great. I get to basically work with my second family and get paid for it, and it feels very rewarding. And at the current moment, I just turned 16 like last month, so I just got my permit, and soon enough I'll get my license. So this program, and hopefully I get a car, but this program could eventually help me fund for that car. Any suggestions? No? And I recommend that kids join it. They take care of you. Yeah, we're taken care of. If we need anything, we could ask them. They make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to, and they work very well with our supervisors. My supervisor is Kenneth Brooks, which some of you may know, and he tells me that it's super easy for him, and it's super easy for me too, and I think it's super easy for anyone who wants to join. But that's all for today. And thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. And I have heard of Ring of Hope, and I've been there. Ed Lavin Jr.?
I'm sure you all remember me from the March meeting prior to St. Patrick's Day. That's where you told me the mayor doesn't deal with judges. I just would like to read you the statute. The mayor also signs all commissions and appointments and approves all official bonds unless an ordinance otherwise prescribes. That's 79.90. Statutes direct the mayor to be active and vigilant in enforcing all laws and ordinances for the government of the city and to promptly deal with any neglect or violation of duty by a subordinate. That's statute 79.200. So now I would like to ask that question again. What do you intend to do about these 3 corrupt judges and city clerk's office that deprive me of my civil rights to due process and a fair hearing?
As I explained before, sir, this is your opportunity for public to come and to speak, but this is not where there will be a dialogue. You would have to make an appointment to speak with the mayor if that's your desire.
Good luck in your re-election. My next billboard will be about both of you.
Thank you. Mariah Lopez?
Hello. I had plans to read notes, but I'm not. My name is Mariah Lopez. I am the volunteer executive director of the oldest trans rights group in the nation. I understand that I have 3 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it within that, but I'm not sure a trans woman of color has ever addressed this body. And I want to give you a little bit of my background that's going to inform, hopefully, my brief comments that we can all follow up during normal business hours. I have brought some of the most meaningful and important landmark cases for trans rights in the state of New York. I have been bringing litigation against the city of New York, which has considerable more resources than the city of Schenectady, since at least 1999. The most recent landmark case I settled was in 2021. Because of that, the city of New York is now committed to opening trans and disability-friendly shelters in every borough. On the way over here, I had a friend in the comptroller's office do a little back-of-the-envelope math, and we believe that I have cost the city more than $20 million. So I'm going to ask that this council be responsive. I am now a local resident of the city of Schenectady. That gentleman and I come from entirely different backgrounds. But I will say, unlike that gentleman, my organization and myself have access to some of the best constitutional lawyers in the country. I do not believe a lot of what I have observed here on the city level, on the local city government level, is entirely ethical as it pertains to poor and disabled people. And so I will be following up with my city council folk here about bringing local legislation to fill the gaps to protect poor and vulnerable people. I can guarantee you, though, that if I decide to start making noise, and Vocal NY and HRX send their regards. I guarantee you if we decide to make noise here, it will be noise that can drive the democracy. I hope that as someone that has been as consequential as I have been, with the expertise in human and civil rights that I have, that it will be easy to plug some of the sort of holes and gaps. And with that, I'll give several examples and then cede my time. New York State's change to the scofflaw laws are allowing the local Schenectady Traffic Division and SPD to target certain groups or to recklessly enforce in a way that disproportionately negatively impacts poor and minority communities. The city council knows that the city has a surplus financially. You do not need to be going after poor people with a gotcha game so that they're forced to move their cars to the other side of the street. And by the way, this is hyper local government, I get it. But living here, coming from New York City, it is apparent that one of the draws is that government is local and small, and it should be more responsive. I have raised issues about, I hear my time, ma'am. with regard to some of the executive agencies and SPD, and I haven't got that much of a response from the mayor's office and corporation council. Perhaps it is time for city council to act. And finally, I'm gonna ask that city council consider legislation for right to counsel for poor and minority folk here facing landlord-tenant court. Some people can't even read. Those people should not be expected when it's one of the most consequential decisions in their life to stand up pro se in landlord-tenant court. Thank you for being considerate and allowing me to go over, ma'am, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Wayne Harper?
You know, you can be poor minority, but you could get someone to read to you if you can't read. I'm sick and tired of hearing people that can't follow the law, and then when you try to enforce the law, it's about race. And I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about race. Everything's racial today. And it's mainly, Marion, black on white now. It's a reverse racism. And let me just say right now, call Wayne Harper a racist. Call me anything you want. But I'm getting fed up with it. And it seems like we just keep taking it and taking it and taking it. And if you're not a lawbreaker, you have nothing to fear. You can't read and write. My father couldn't read and write, but he knew what the law was. You learn it from other people. Now, I don't know if you could rescind that 10.1 million, and it'll probably go above that for that swimming pool. That to me is sickening. When I read that kind of stuff, it makes my blood boil. And I noticed at that committee meeting, I happened to catch it on TV, Carmel and Doreen, they sat across from one another in the committee, and their heads were, as the two salesmen for this pool, their heads were going in unison. We could better spend that 10.1 million on sidewalks, curbs, roads. Bellevue's a mess. National Grid tore up Bellevue to put in gas lines, as a lot of the rest of the city. There's so many areas, lead pipe. We have lead pipes going into homes. People are bathing, drinking water that may be contaminated. That money could be spent better someplace else. The other thing, they said that pool's gonna be a destination. Oh, how laughable. I can hear people now, I was gonna go to Lake George or Sagamdog or maybe Saratoga Lake, but you know what? I think I'm gonna go to Schenectady Pool. So, who's gonna pay for the additional policing, the upkeep of the grounds? You know, there's a lot of expense that's gonna go with that. And I didn't see, and are we gonna charge a fee? And then I'm thinking we could probably smell the chlorine up in Bellevue to counteract the urine that goes in the swimming pool. I mean, I wouldn't swim in a swimming pool today. I'm too conscious of disease. And I think we lost sight that COVID is still alive and well, and it may be coming back around with other illnesses. And here we're gonna congregate people in pools. So that's my 2 cents worth. If you could rescind it, because I didn't know there was I didn't get the comment period on that. Maybe I was in the hospital. Now, lastly, City Ethics Board repairs Farley probe. I happened to catch that committee meeting. When Mr. Palomeni raised that issue, you, Marion, went after him like you were Damani's attorney. And I think it's more than reasonable based on what was said in the paper. And if it's not true, I'm sure you're going to ask for a retraction. But when you come to these seats and you owe back taxes, you don't qualify. You got to be squeaky clean to sit in these, or you should be. And then to see that you're double dipping with the school system, which are joined at the hip, by the way, the teachers union with you folks. So that needs to be looked at, and not by an ethics board. I don't trust that ethics board, the people that, and I see where Michael Dalton was just
Your time
appointed.
has expired.
What's that?
You're over your time.
Oh, okay. So lastly then, to close, I think Damani, you should have resigned, quite frankly. And we're gonna have 86,000 new, according to the National Democrats, IRS agents. Maybe one of them should be assigned here. Let's find out what's really went on. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I have no one else signed up to speak for public comment on the city business, so I declare it closed. At this time, any miscellaneous business of the council? Mr. Williams.
Thank you. I definitely want to start off by thanking the youth that were present here tonight. I hope they understand that the power of their voices is something that they're learning to express and hone. Definitely these job skills that you are learning are going to absolutely follow you for the rest of your life, and it is an amazing opportunity for Schenectady to be such a pivotal experience for them as they go down that journey. I wanted to take a moment to thank a few agencies that hosted a housing forum a few weeks ago. I would like to thank the New York State Division of Human Rights, the Schenectady County Human Rights Commission, the Legal Aid Society, and All of Us Community Ethic Group for hosting a successful conversation for housing protections on March 30th. One of the underlying tenets that we addressed was knowing your rights and understanding the resources that are available for you. It's important that you either take down this address, this website, or pass it along to someone that you think might be best in use of this. But dhr.ny.gov is your way to be able to submit complaints against discrimination in respect to renting or purchasing of a home, and this agency will investigate and potentially present your case in court. Now, I know we were talking or heard a lot about funds or being able to understand or have the wherewithal to recognize what is available to you. And honestly, it begins with understanding what your rights are. So please get smart. Again, I would like to respond. That website is dhr.ny.gov. Second, I would like to thank for the continuous work of the Schenectady Inner City Ministry for hosting this forum. I'd like to acknowledge that their food program is doing the abundant work of making sure that everyone has access to healthy and nutritious meals in Schenectady. If you are looking for an opportunity to dedicate your time or monetary contributions, this is an excellent opportunity. Again, this agency is doing the good and tough work of making sure that food is accessible to Schenectadians, whether you've been here your entire life or you just arrived. This is available to you. Second, I wanted to take an opportunity to announce that in partnership with Braver Angels, we will be hosting a workshop at Union College to address skills for bridging the divide, which is a workshop to provide resources for talking about political issues in a constructive and empathetic way. There will be more information to come, but that event will take place on May 18th from 6 to 8:30. There will be more information again and flyers and signups that will be presented to the community. Next, I would like to acknowledge that as we look forward to a warmer climate, please enjoy your time in your backyard or in the park in a considerable manner. Definitely music and excess noise is something that we continuously deal with. Please be respectful of your neighbors and also individuals that are sharing those safe spaces, because as much as we pride ourselves on the benefits of this community, we cannot over-enjoy at the expense of others. And I thought it was important to just address the continuous conversations and topics that have been directed at my council peer, Damani Farley. At this present time, these are allegations, and there have been other well-positioned bodies that have looked into these matters. For myself, I've respected and appreciate the contributions Councilman Farley has made, not only to the Schenectady City Council, but also to the work he continuously does at the Schenectady City School District. I think it is more than appropriate to have defenses in place to ensure that he is not taking on this conversation alone. I understand that the work of the Board of the Ethics Board is important, but as we have heard, if something walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, what is it? So I'm confident that as this investigation, in whatever manner it conducts itself, I know that the respectable and ethical manner that Mr. Farley conducts himself will be present, and I look forward to a retraction being issued to the paper, and I hope that he continues to do this positive work in a manner that is most befitting of his ethics. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor? Mr. Farley?
Guess it's only right. So, politics a lot of politics is about managing optics, and I'm not the best at that. And it's not lost on me that when you take strong positions and you call out things like bias, discrimination, and systemic racism, and you call them exactly what they are, and you do so explicitly and on record, you make enemies. And that's okay with me, because I didn't come here to make friends, I came here to make change. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. It's also not lost in the public that this ethics board that has not convened to deal with the issue in 10 years was last brought together to investigate another person of color on the city council. And none of this happened until I sat here and called out a certain pattern of behavior, and not my opinion, just a fact pattern of behavior that really just calls things what they are. And I'm going to continue to do that. If people of color have been used to historically systems being weaponized against them as a way to buy their silence, I know it just burns your biscuits that you can't keep this boy in his place. I didn't come here to dance to whatever music that you guys have been playing for years and years and years. Schenectady is not a great place for everyone. It is a great place for some. It's a good place for some, and it's full of great people. However, we cannot be afraid of better. And if, as politicians or elected officials, when someone who tries to reach out to you privately to bring things to your attention and say, let's fix this, if you won't engage in those conversations, and then you have to bring it on the floor, I am who I say I am. I'm like everybody else. As far as my state taxes, that's a real thing. That's not the only bill that I have to pay, that I'm working on after a financial hardship that so many people have explained and have experienced. But outside of that, I'm so proud of the work that I've done in the community and the large team of people that I've done and done that work with. It speaks for itself. And so I don't scare that easy. I don't have that type of brittle spirit. I am who I say I am. We're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to call out systemic racism, and until we as a city take a hard look at who we are and start to allocate funds in a way that's aligned with equity, not just saying it, saying we're not just going to give the money to the people of this big box agency because they play golf with us and they've been getting money for 20 years. And so we take it a step further to say, let's talk to the people that the services are being provided to. Let's talk to the people that are the line workers, the people that are engaging in the community in this work. And when we start to ask ourselves those hard questions, we might not always like the answer, but that's okay. It's about asking the right questions. So I'm here for it, and I'm going to continue to do what I do, and I'm going to continue to fight and advocate for the people. And you don't have to be perfect to do that, thank God, because I wouldn't be here if that was the case. Thank you.
Mr. Palamini.
Yeah, there's a systemic pattern here. Every time something happens that someone makes a mistake, somebody screws up, here comes the racism charges. Yes, the ethics committee hasn't been in play in 10 years. Probably should have been if there was something. But here we have a situation where we have contracts that are nearly identical, $600,000 of money that could have gone to children went to an individual and employees. The school district says, well, it looks like it's probably not illegal. We're to trust the school district who's had cover-up after cover-up after cover-up, who are just covering up for themselves. We have unpaid taxes. We don't know about, that's for 16, 17. We don't know about any years after that. We don't know about workers' compensation. We don't know about disability insurance. There's a lot of questions that aren't answered. And for ethics board to look at this and say, nothing wrong or something wrong, or to have a district attorney or the attorney general or the comptroller look at it and say, hey, there's nothing here, is a legitimate question. Hundreds upon hundreds of people have asked me about this and say, stand up. So I will continue to stand up and try to do the right thing. And if that means calling out individuals who have done something, as I expect, I will stand up. But this, every time something happens, you can play the record over and over again. And that's what it is. So I'm going to stand up. You can compare yourself to whoever. Compare yourself to more like George Santos or the Donald Trump tactics that you're using. That's what's going on here. And I will continue to stand up for taxpayers. They've constantly said, keep up. And I will continue to do so.
Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. And we're starting to see the weather shift for hopefully will be warmer weather going forward. There are still some potholes that will be appearing. I want to encourage people to use See-Click Fix so that we can get them identified, get them on a schedule to get them filled. As the batch plants open up, that we'll be able to respond in a more timely manner. And again, appreciate the council approving the crack sealing contract tonight for roads, because that's one of the cheaper ways to maintain street surface and to prevent some of the more expensive maintenance. Mr. Farley will be opening the golf course this Saturday. I don't get to play with those big box vendors. Hopefully get out once or twice this year, and hope other council members would get the opportunity to enjoy the golf course. It's one of the things that we learned from COVID that more and more courses are using now, is that when the course opens on Saturday, we will not allow the carts to go out. And the superintendent will make that decision like a week or 10 days out. And what we found is by allowing that brief period of time for the grass to get better established, it allows the course to go through the summer in a much higher quality. It's greener, you don't have the brown spots, and the overall visual aspect of the course is much better. And so it was a learning experience, one of the odd things from COVID that we picked up and are now using it as standard practice. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to thank everyone that came out tonight to speak, and to the young people. We're appreciative, at least I am, and that this council was able to fund the program, and we can see some of the benefits, and I'm sure there's more. So it was really great. It's always great to hear that something that you did had a positive impact, and for people to come back and tell you, because God knows that we hear enough of other things. So I just can't ignore the elephant in the room, the conversation about the ethics board, and it was spoken of tonight, and it's clear that the ethics board has said that it refers to employees or officers of the city. At the time, the things that we're talking about Councilmember Farley, occurred prior to that. So I just want to make that clear for everyone, so that there's no mistake about my comments regarding whether or not it should be before the ethics board. And let's just state the facts. It is a fact that the last time the ethics board was called, it was against an African-American person. That's not racism. That's a fact. You can look it up. You can go see it. It's a fact. So I am very clear, because of the climate that we're in, not to call things racism when it's a possibility that they're not. But you can't argue with the facts. And if we want to talk about it, I want to just mention what happened in Tennessee, where there were lawmakers who stood up for children getting killed and talking against guns. And 2 of those lawmakers were African American, and the 3rd was not. And the 2 African Americans were expelled, and the 3rd was not. So you can come to your own conclusion on that. So it's not sometimes, and it's racism, and one of the speakers said that they're getting tired of it. I think we are all getting tired of it, and those of us who have lived with it for years are tired of it as well. And I think that if we can try to work together and overcome it, but recognize other people's situations if you've never walked in their shoes, and respect that, and have conversations about it, And I'm hoping that this is our last debate on the floor against and between two council members, because as people say that I'm hearing from the public, I hear as well about those particular interactions. Maybe it's time for a private conversation, gentlemen. If there's nothing to come before the City Council tonight, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Farley, second by Mr. Mudavaren. All those in favor? Have a good evening.